What's going on, guys? We're finally back with the tractor here. Going to see if we can get it fired up today. I did get the new points in. I had to get a new base because the tab broke off. I don't know if you've seen the last video, but I will show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so the tab that busted off was right here. And then this is the new one. And we already have a problem. So this says that it's for a 2N. And it is literally the exact same. Like, everything looks great. Except for when you come over here, you'll see that this is way lower than that one is. So again, we're gonna have to try to strip this one down, and I'm gonna move the parts over to this one. I think everything should line up. See if we can reuse this one with the parts from the new one, because this tab is not riveted in like the old one is. It's like a screw and a plastic little anchor thing. So we're gonna use these parts on this one, see if we can make that work. Okay, so basically we are going to unscrew this one and this one right here, and then we will also have to unscrew here on the end, and then there's a little clip that you can see right there that retains this whole cam and everything in here. We're gonna pull all that stuff out and then try to transfer it onto the new one. All right, so we've gotten all the stuff off of this plate here. So now we're moving on to the other plate, and what I did for the rivet right here, I just drilled that out, and it's actually a square already in there, perfect for this plastic piece. I've already tested it. Once you put the screw in there, it is the right size where it properly secures this to this tab. So we are going to be able to use this old plate. I'm going to get it cleaned up a little bit more, just so I don't have to mess with this any longer. I want to get everything off of it, get it looking good. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up. I'll be right back. All right, so I've got this stuff already cleaned up. We're gonna go ahead and change this out as well, which is just a screw in here. Okay, so we're just gonna pop the new one on here and tighten that screw down. And then make sure that your wire is running through there like it was. Okay. Okay, so I've got this plate assembled back together again. Again, I just took the black little plastic piece there, stuck it through. Then the screw goes through it. I got a little bit of a bend there. I don't think that's going to matter that much. The cam seems to be functioning properly. It's got good tension on it. And then the contacts down here are perfectly lined up. So all that you really had to do is just line that back over this pin. I got to install the little pin to keep it from popping up over the end of this, and then also just put those two screws in and it's good to go. Okay, so I've got that pin put back in, and now we're just going to align all of this back over here, and this should just drop down in there. You just got to make sure it's oriented correctly. Okay, now you want to make sure that this hole on the side right here is lined up, and then you're going to go ahead and mount that in, and then we'll have to install our little retainer clip back in. That way this plate doesn't pop out. Okay, so I got the condenser installed back in there. The wire just runs right to here. You just got to kind of back that out, slip that on, tighten it up. I don't have my feeler gauges, so I just kind of eyeballed it to where I think is correct. I also put the little retainer ring all the way back down in there. As you can see, everything looks to be operating correctly. So I think we're good to go ahead and try to install this thing back on the tractor. All right, so I'm just installing this back on the tractor. I cleaned up everything inside there because you don't want it to get gummed up and nasty, and you just want everything to be clean. That way you don't have to do all this crap again. So just tighten these two bolts. Okay, so I had to order some gaskets. The gasket I needed is right there in the middle, but I'm going to go ahead and replace all of them since you get them all in a kit. So I'm going to take the cap back off here and then put this gasket on there, as well as this one that goes underneath the rotor. So you want to make sure that your retaining clips on the sides are off, and that kind of pulls straight out. Move this up out of the way, and then pop the rotor off. Take this one out. Pop this new one on. All right, so now on the bottom of this cap, this gasket just goes around the ring. Okay, so I've got that seated around the base of the cap. This rotor is just going to go back on here. There we go. And then this will seat with this little dowel pin in here. Put your retaining clips back on there. So just align that on the bottom. Like that. This bail kind of secures it in place here, and then the wire that sits on the top of it. Make sure all your plug wires are in all the way. All right, so I'm just popping all these old spark plugs out of here. Probably don't need that. One thing you want to check is that the thread length is about the same. And as you can see, comparing these side by side, that the thread length is exactly the same. Some of these rebuild kits, you just got to double check, make sure that it's perfect for your application. Lastly, I'm going to double check the gap on here, make sure it's set to the factory specs, and then install all the spark plugs. Okay, so for the spark plug gap, what I'm seeing online is somewhere around 25 thousandths. So that's what I have the plug set at. Now we're just going to tighten it down. For the first test, we're going to put a test light on the wire that goes into the top of your ignition system here. So find a good ground for it. That's that right there. So it's got power to it, obviously. So whenever I crank the engine over, it should blink if the points are working correctly. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this well enough, but we've got a plug pulled out here, and we're just going to make sure that we have a nice blue spark. And we do. All right, basically we're just wrestling off the tube that goes to the air cleaner up here. There we go. Okay, so we are going to try to see if this will fire now, just by spraying directly into the throat of the carburetor. That's a good noise. Okay guys, so actually this thing started right up. I didn't hear any popping or anything. Of course it ran for a very short period of time because I have no gas supply on it. And it's really not the best for these things to run on ether for that long. So I just want to make sure that it was going to fire. It did immediately. So yeah, pretty much now I'm just going to start cleaning some stuff up before I put everything back on it. I want to get some of the build-up grime and stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of new things like the fuel lines. I'm going to just make them all new because there's probably a bunch of crud and you don't want that all getting down into the engine. But the ignition system is working flawlessly. The starter appears to be working flawlessly as well, which is good. So before I go any farther, I want to make sure I just have this thing nice and cleaned up. That way I don't have to pull it all apart again. Just so you guys get a better shot of what I'm talking about, I took this tube off that goes from the air cleaner here down to the throat of the carburetor. And I was just pushing the button, spraying directly into there, just enough to get it started. That doesn't mean I don't need a carburetor rebuild kit, because obviously that's probably all gummed up too from sitting for so long. Another reason I don't want to put everything back together again just to pull it all apart is because the base of the hydraulic pump on the bottom is cracked. So regardless of what kind of running condition I get the engine in, this is going to be an issue. I won't be able to move this tractor under its own power until this situation is fixed. All right, guys, so other than that, just a quick update for the channel here. In the next video, I know some of you Ford guys may not like this, but this Chevy Nova back here will be running. I found some race gas kind of locally that I can run on this thing. So we're going to adjust the timing again, get that fired up in one of the next videos. And then we are also doing a lot of work on the pickup truck. So I'll show you what I got going on over here. So the step on the passenger side is welded in, but on this side, obviously, just a massive hole. So this was absolutely disgusting. I mean, you can see the pieces that I've been cutting this off in. It's horrible. But I'll show you the passenger side. Yeah, so here's the side I already finished. Got it all tacked in there. I still need to do some grinding on the welds and everything, and then get a coat of primer on it. That way it doesn't flash rust. I actually did get my title work all done for this thing, so that's good. So I can get it out on the road legally, and yeah, have this Y block on the road running good as ever. But there's going to be some major upgrades for this thing coming. So anyways, guys, that thing is now running. I just got to do some other work on it to get it running where I can just start it from the seat and not have to run the thing on starting fluid. Anyways, if you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you are also subscribed to the YouTube channel. That way you guys can see updates on the other vehicles that I showed you, as well as this. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.